Welcome to the show, Rebels with a Purpose, and I'm your talk show host, Terrence Perry. And today on the show, we will have the business strategist and career coach, Dana Gower. I'll bring him on a little bit later in the show. But at the beginning of the show, I do want you all to listen closely. I have some insights I want to share regarding Jesse Williams' speech he made on Sunday night on the BET Awards. I want to kind of touch bases on that speech a little bit. At the same time, I do want you all to call into the show if you have anything you want to share. If you heard that speech on Sunday evening, if you have any concerns, any questions, or just any feedback that you want to share regarding the Jesse Williams speech, do call into the show this afternoon at 919-518-9773. Again, let me also welcome the producer of Nissan Communications, Amnon Nissan.
Hello.
Nissan,
How are you? How are you doing?
I'm good. Coming in out the rain, but I'm
you're
dry.
and you didn't melt.
I didn't melt.
Oh.
All right. So again, later in the show, we are gonna bring Dana Gower on. But before that, I do want to mention the speech on Sunday evening that Jesse Williams spoke on. And part of that speech was about he talked about racism in America, and that issue that we're always dealing with every day. And I just want to give a few quotes. One of the quotes that Jesse Williams had, let me just say, it was, police somehow managed to de-escalate, disarm, and not kill white people every day. So what's going on? So what's going to happen is we are going to have equal rights and justice in our country, or we will restructure dysfunction as ours. That's one of the quotes that he had, and there's several others that I'll make mention of throughout the show today. But I do again want you to call in and tell me what your thoughts are about that speech. How did it move you? And you can call into the show at 919-518-9773. Again, one other quote that stands out of my mind, and I'm gonna just read that Jesse Williams also stated. We are going to have equal rights and justice in our country, or we will restructure their function as ours. The hereafter is a hustle. We want it now. That was powerful when he said that. Let me give you another quote that Jesse Williams stated. If you have no interest in equal rights for black people, then do not make suggestions for those who do. Sit down. I thought that was eloquently said and well stated as well. If you don't know who Jesse Williams is one of the actors that was on Grey's Anatomy. He's also an activist, and he's been very active since the Ferguson case, and also I think even back as far as when Trayvon Martin was killed. Also, he was an actor, but he also became an activist in when these murders and killings started to occur. But he's always been active in fighting for racism, and for him to make those statements and to publicly take a stand on racism in America, I thought that was powerful for any actor to do, any person that really stands for the cause that they believe in, the mission that they thrive in, or even the purpose that they live for. that takes me to this premise: rebels with a purpose. I want to kind of explain to you a little bit today about the the name of the show, Rebels with a Purpose, just to give just to give you some clarification. When we talk about rebels, we're not necessarily talking about anything bad. A lot of times, the word rebel, the connotation is connected to rebellion or something bad. But when we talk about rebels with a purpose, we're actually talking about um, going against the status quo. If the status quo doesn't benefit, if it doesn't benefit you, if it doesn't benefit your culture, if it doesn't benefit mankind, you have to look at the status quo and determine whether you want to take a stand and fight for that cause to change it. If you see something that needs to be changed in America or any other country that you're in, decide that you're the one that may need to help change it. You know, start a movement or get involved in a movement. And that's one of the things that Jesse Williams done. That's and many others, many of us in different walks of life has decided to take a stand, to become a change agent for the community that we live in, for the city that we live in. So I just want to make some clarification on what Rebels with a Cause is all about. Rebels with a Purpose is all about. Rebels with a Mission is all about. And, just rebels with a passion. If you're passionate about whatever it is that you believe in, and it could be anything from cancer research to fighting for change in your community. It could be any of those things. Take a stand. The premise of the whole concept is based on there's a time for change, and the time is now. Do we have a call? Okay, I'm gonna take a call. Hold on just a minute. Hello, caller.
You know it's me. It's Shirley. How are you?
I'm good, Shirley. Always good to hear from you. Sure.
I'm on vacation, so I might make this short, but I did see Jesse Williams, and oh my goodness, it was awesome. I'm just gonna let you, go ahead with it, but he had so much to say, and he's so motivated that it was very motivational. And to see young people out there like that it was a treat. So go ahead with your show, and I'm listening on.
Shirley, hold on just a minute. I know that you are traveling from Texas down to the East Coast right now, and you will be here on the show July the 5th. I think you was in South Carolina yesterday or the day before, and you're moving on down toward North Carolina.
Right. I'm in South Carolina now, and I'm heading to Virginia and we're traveling with literacy on the go, read to achieve the magic. So I am impacting so many young folks with my vehicle that's touting literacy, and I'm so excited with this. We're talking about the book. We're talking about everything in reference to reading and writing and thinking critically. So I will be we're going to Virginia. I'm going to be on the beach, and then I'm going to double back, and I'm going to hit Raleigh, North Carolina, where I'm going to meet Amnon. I'm going to see you, and we're going to have an awesome show. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Shirley, we're looking forward to having you. I can't wait. I got your book, so I'm excited, and we look forward to having you on July the 5th. Be safe.
All right, thank you. I'm going to listen in.
All right, thanks. Anybody else that want to chime in or call into the show today, do give us a call at 919-518-9773. And one of the things that we're talking about today before we bring our guest on is we're talking about Jesse Williams' speech that he made at the BET Awards on Sunday evening. And that speech centered around racism. Jesse Williams, again, he's an actor from the Grey's Anatomy show, but he's also an activist in the community, and he's been very outspoken about his belief and the cause that he stand for and fight for. And I think his speech on the BET Awards was very moving. I think it actually stole the whole show. Even though a lot of that show was dedicated to Prince, and that was where it orchestrated, and it was great. Jennifer Hudson did a great job uh, performing one of his hit songs. She did a great performance. But I think Jesse Williams' humanitarian award and the statements that he made was very powerful. It was very timely, and it brings us back to the show. Do we have a guest? Okay, let me take this call. Caller, go ahead.
Hi, Terrence. How are you today?
I'm good. Who am I speaking with?
This is Tracy Butterfly Dunston.
Tracy Butterfly Thompson. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Okay.
In regards to Jesse Williams' speech, I thought it was magnificent. However, I didn't watch the BET Awards, but I did see the speech the day afterwards, and I thought it was wonderful, especially the part when he stated that dedicating our lives to getting money just to give it right back to someone's brand on our body when we spent centuries praying with brands on our bodies, and now we're praying to get paid for brands on our bodies. I thought that was powerful,
I,
and I hope that everyone really understood what he was saying.
I hope so too. And even if they didn't, if they go back and and replay it, and they'll hear again, because I played it over and over myself just to get more clarification and understanding on a, but it was on a different level than what we're normally used to hearing people coming up out and talking about the racism. I think the platform that he took it that was exceptional and very timely, particularly on the BET Awards, as his humanitarian speech. I think it was well received. I think all across America. So, Trace, I appreciate you calling in and just sharing with us what your thoughts were. Do you have any other thoughts about that great speech, or anything else you want to share that he may have said that touch your heart?
I also like the part when he said that when he addressed the systems as we know them to be, that they will no longer be if we take a stand against the systems,
Oh yeah,
which goes back to what I shared previously when I was on the show, that the community and our surroundings will never change unless we as individuals change.
that's true. That's true. Again, he made some great comments throughout his speech that I think will resonate with us for a while, and I think we're going to hear more about those things that he spoke on anyway. Again, if you want to call in a little later in the show, do call in if you have comments or questions regarding the Jesse Williams speech or any other comment that you may want to call in and make. Feel free to do so. This is Rebels with a Purpose. I'm your talk show host, Terrence Perry. Tracy, I appreciate you calling in. And we're gonna
Thank
get
you.
okay, and we're gonna get ready to bring our guest on today. Our guest today is Dana Gower, and Dana is a career coach as well as a business expert. So we're gonna have him on. Do welcome Dana if you come on up. Glad to have you this evening. How you doing, Dana?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm great, great. Glad you made it this evening, this afternoon.
Well, thanks for having me, Terrence. I look forward to it.
All right, the pleasure is all mine. And Dana, one of the things that we're going to get started, and I just want you to kind of share with the public what it is that you do, a little bit about who you are, and a little bit about the book. But I'm gonna ask you a series of questions about that as we go on.
Absolutely.
What I want you to do is look into the camera at the audience here, and the audience is yours. Dan, just tell us a little bit about you.
All right. I'll try to look into the camera, but I probably will look over at you
I hear
every
you.
once in a while, Terrence, as well. So one of the things we talk about in the book is personal branding as part of a career management plan. And so my personal career brand is I hail myself as a business career and wealth strategist. So I have my hands in a lot of things, both in the volunteer world as well as the profit-seeking world. And my primary work is in investment management, wealth management. But I also have been involved in the last few years with startup businesses in the triangle, helping them to launch brand new business, brand new products. So it's been a rather exciting opportunity to get involved with these small startup enterprises. In the past, I've worked for large corporations as well as medium-sized businesses.
All right, Dana, can you share a little bit more about some of the things that you are doing with some of these small and startup companies in terms of branding?
Absolutely. So one of the things that's important today, whether you're an individual who is looking to find a new job, launch a business, get started somehow in a re-careering or a brand new career opportunity, is this idea of personal branding. And the marketplace has become so competitive, whether you're a person competing for a job or you're a company trying to launch a new product. There's lots of you out there. For every job opening, there are hundreds, sometimes thousands of applicants. If you think of a company launching a new product, there are already existing competitors in many cases, and the question is, how are you different? And then how are you promoting yourself and taking advantage of your uniqueness in what you bring to the party in terms of a valuable product or service, and what makes you different, so that people want to buy you.
Do we have a call?
Sounds like it.
Dana, let's take this call. Caller, state your name and feel free to share. Caller, are you still on the line? Okay. Again, if you do want to call in, you can reach us at 919-518-9773, Rebels with a Purpose. And we have Dana Gower on the show today. He's going to share a little bit more about careering. And that's a term that's kind of new to me. But I've heard it at the beginning of this year. And Dana, can you just give me a little bit more insight, and the audience a little bit more insight on the term careering, and the book that you also have written along with some of your associates about that very topic?
Yeah, so careering is a book title, and we call it a practical and spiritual guide to how to find and maintain meaningful work in today's economy. And so the careering book is a collection of stories, a collection of how to get the job done in terms of managing a career in a world that has become so transient, a workplace that is so different than it was many years ago in terms of security, in terms of what you need to do to be successful, and also a world that where people are having to search for jobs every 4 or 5 years.
Okay, and as you stated, as the world is changing, and we are seeing we are seeing older people that they were retiring, but now they are actually starting their second career. We're also seeing, I guess, the baby boomers and the millenniums that's coming into the workforce, going out and coming in. The millennials are coming in, the baby boomers are going out. But in that middle, there's a gap of who do we hire? And some of the older employers, they have a lot of abilities and talents and skills, but also the millenniums have, they are highly energized, they're creative minded, and they're looking to get started in their career. How do we combine those two generations of people in the workforce?
That's a great question, and I might add too that millennials tend to be very technologically savvy. And I just came from a program at Duke University where I've been mentoring, along with others, some highly talented high school kids there in a summer program, and they're incredibly, they're telling us so much about technology and how it can help a business, and it's just remarkable. The older workers, however, bring sometimes a sense of maturity, a sense of wisdom that is only achieved through experience. And the beauty of what's going on right now is that the way to capitalize, in my opinion, on that is for people to collaborate well together and in the workplace. And for example, doing the mentoring. All right, and mentoring has shown to provide tremendous benefits and results to improving one's own career, to getting the job done at hand, etc. So I think mentoring is probably one of the keys to that, and great opportunities around that. The employers, despite the recession that we've been through, and the fact that the official unemployment rates have come down, the employers are kind of concerned about waves of what they call the brain drain. So you've got these older workers that have 30 and 40 years in suddenly retiring en masse, and many of them are, and not all, but many of them are. And so they're really worried about training the new folks and getting them ready to take on the more advanced jobs, the managerial jobs, the executive level jobs. So it's that gap is real, and there are ways to close it. But mentoring, supporting each other, working together, the older folks showing younger folks how to navigate the corporation, how to navigate the competitive field, and then listening to the younger folks about some of the technological advantages, and capitalizing on that can be a win-win for everybody.
All right, great. And I think what you when you're speaking on the mentoring piece, you're talking about the experience that the older generation of workers have that they can share with the millennial generation, but also the millennial generation can share their technological skills with the older generation. And when the two come together and work together, they can be powerful in creating a whole new workforce. And I guess in taking the whole workforce to the next level as they learn to work together.
I think that's the only way companies are going to survive. And the reason I say that is because the technological changes that we've seen and we'll expect to see in the next 5 to 10 years are just absolutely remarkable. And so if older folks in the workforce, A, don't stay current as they can with technological skills, and B, don't pay attention to the available knowledge of these younger workers who tend to know it like the back of their hands in many cases, they're losing out, and the corporations are going to suffer if they don't take advantage of that.
And I think too, with the millennial generation of technological advances, do you feel like they are, even though that's what they bring to the table, do you feel like that they are missing anything once they finish college, get their degree, and come into the workforce? I know a lot of times, from my experience in working with teens and young adults, they want to come into the workforce, but they want top dollar just coming into the workforce. Whereas the older generation that have been in the workforce is at their, I guess they are at their financial peak in terms of what they can make. But when the millennium comes in and want to start off at the same rate at which the older generation have already achieved, it sometimes brings some conflict in the workforce about, I guess, who's making what and why. The older ones, they feel like the millennium shouldn't be coming in making the exact same amount of money or more than they make because of their experience. Whereas the millennium feel like, well, we are bringing these technological advances, and therefore we should be paid for that, compensated well, just out of college.
Well, one of the things about the marketplace really determines wages and salaries, right? And so in some cases, younger people can command and get very large salaries for their knowledge base, in some cases, in some industries. But it is limited. And if you're seeking that, you might be able to pull it off if you have all the right credentials and you know the right people, you interview well, and sign on with those employers that are offering that. Now, the largest percentage of jobs, though, are not those high-paying jobs to start off. And no matter what you know, they know that you don't have all the goods to be as effective as you will be once you gain experience. So there are a lot of younger folks that are living in the basements. They're not taking jobs that they perceive as not good enough for them, either pay-wise or challenge-wise. And I think that's a big mistake. And I'll tell you to stay down in the basement and not get out and try to do something, because if you think about ways to progress and to get going, all right, and what's gonna work for you, staying in the basement is not a healthy thing to do. It's no way to have a life. It's no way to build a life. If you get out and you start working, and say you take a job that's maybe less pay than what you really want, and maybe even it's not as interesting as you might like given your education level, all right? But starting in that job and bringing home a paycheck is going to give you a great sense of satisfaction. And secondly, you are going to meet people who you can demonstrate your skills to, that will want to help promote you and build you up going forward. I think one of my favorite stories along this line is actually Arnold Schwarzenegger. When he was working as a bodybuilder, he also was a bricklayer, and the bricklaying paid the bills. And he did that very well, and he progressed, and it was hard work. But the man went on to become the governor of California, and that's how he started. He did that menial work, and I'm not saying everybody go out and do menial work, but find something to do that will bring home some pay, that will get you out there in the game, and great things will potentially happen for you if you take that approach.
Dana, I'm smiling because when I started in the beginning of my career, I was a bricklayer. Well, I was a bricklaying apprentice myself.
And I didn't know that, so I
I was a bricklaying apprentice many over 30 years ago. But I got out of that line of work because, as they say, I wasn't good enough. As an apprentice, I thought I would, within a year, I would be making top dollar in the bricklaying industry. But you got to be able to do the work, and you got to be able to do the work effectively. I wasn't effective, and they let me know that. So I hightailed my butt on to college, and got into my human service and mental health career. But again, like you said, hard work and dedication to your craft is one of the ways that you are going to advance. I think the generations before have realized that. My generation, the baby boomers and so forth, now the millennial generation have not, have not come into that awareness yet, that you do have to put the time in. But as you said earlier too, they can command that type of money if they're in the right environment with the right business owner, and they have the right skills, the right resume that speaks that language to what they can do and what they can command. Because if they're doing something that nobody else really can't do, then they can command top dollar.
Absolutely. And anyone who's in that category, where you have some unique skills at a young age, you have the aptitude, you have the business connections, go for it. All right, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I think if you look at the percentages, it's those jobs are in the minority. Right. So for everyone sitting out there that's a young person that's wondering, how do I get going, and how am I going to make the big bucks, and how am I going to do this, I think that I think you're fooling yourself, and I think you're losing out on a lot of valuable life lessons like you learned, all right, about the value of hard work and building your way up over time, as opposed to a quick fix or a quick opportunity that may not produce long-term dividends for you.
Okay.
Dana,
you got. Oh.
may I come in? And I would like to say something. This is Shirley. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Shirley.
Okay, I'm going to say this. I'm going to kind of sign up with the millennials for just a minute.
Okay.
In speaking to collaboration and mentoring, that's great. I got it. And older workers and younger workers must come together, like Dana's saying. One of the factors that truly impact how much a person wants to be paid is the amount of debt these students are walking away from these universities holding. If you have $100,000 where you have you've accumulated over your 5-6 years in college, and you're coming out with that debt that has to be repaid, because a lot of times you got 6 months after you come out of school to start repaying that debt. And based on what I know, of course you can have deferments and all of that, but you have a big debt over your head, which a lot of these students, and I want Dana to answer to this, a lot of these young folks are saying, how in the world am I going to find a job to accommodate my living expense on top of these credit card expenses and this tremendous student loan? That's one of the factors. When I came out of school, I mean, as an older person graduating, it's like, hey, I got to pay this student loan, and I need to make that money to do it. Can you speak to that for us?
Well, that is probably the idea of student debt is probably one of the scariest topics I can think of today, for outside of violence. All right, because it's such an injustice for a young person to be lulled into thinking by perhaps institutions or somebody, marketers, who make them believe that taking on $150,000-$200,000 worth of debt, perhaps in a major that is not going to repay that debt over 20 years. All right, it's just incredible that this is going on. And the flip side of it is, I hear some kids saying, "I don't think I need college anymore," because they see some of these successful entrepreneurs that quit college, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, that went on to become multi-billionaires without a college degree. And why should I take on any college? Now, I think the answer lies in just being really sharp about two things. One, picking a major that is going to provide satisfaction to you, primarily based on the nature of the work. Because, if you're going to spend 30, 40 years working, you better enjoy some element of that. And if it means being a teacher, because that's what you think you love to do, then you better find a way to get a degree in education that is not going to encompass taking on $150,000 worth of debt, because you're not going to retire it and have a life. All right, you're not going to be able to retire that debt and have any kind of life after that. If you're in a situation where you are an extremely above average student, you're going to a school and majoring in something that is completely futuristic, that the evidence is there, it is going to pay off well. And I'll give you an example: software engineer. All right, maybe if I'm really good at software engineering and I go to a school and I take on significant debt, I might be able to retire that, within 2 or 3 years and not think twice about it. So it's very situational, depending upon what your occupational choice is. The other thing that I think young people can do, and parents of young people particularly, two things. One, this idea that somehow, some way, we look down upon the occupational trades, and that like all of our kids need to go to Ivy Leagues and be A+ students. I mean, that doesn't fit everybody, nor does the market need everybody like that. Some of the trade schools and so forth, many of them disappeared over the last few years, but right now, thinking about, if I really don't like books, all right, and I really don't want to study, that's a pretty good clue that perhaps you ought to consider a trade. And you can make a good living in trades these days because there's almost like a
Right.
shortage of people going into that. So, secondly, uh, if you do the college track, uh, looking at ways to minimize your costs, and that could be spacing out the schooling a little bit. It could be earning scholarships and grants. It could be going. I love the formula for just generally for people that don't want to take on the debt but want a good college degree, and that is you go to a community college for 2 years and then transfer to a 4-year institution to round it out and get the paper, the certificate from the 4-year institution. And in fact, my son has done that. And
Right.
he's going to graduate without any college debt. And he's graduating from Syracuse University, which is a very good school. He'll graduate this year. I met a young person a couple weeks ago. I can't remember the schools she went to, but she went to some fabulous schools, and she graduated debt free. Now it wasn't because parents kicked in, but because she studied she now has a PhD, all right, and she has zero debt. But she worked a little and studied and got her advanced degrees while working, and then she studied the system on how to earn grants and scholarships. And that was her studies, right? She spent months studying that, and got tremendous grants and scholarships, worked part-time, and now has a PhD with no debt. And she's now working, as a matter of fact, as a career coach. So she loves what she does. She's independently employed. She's starting off. And if she had to do the same thing with a lot of debt, she'd probably be choosing between, some other life things she'd rather spend money on versus retiring that student debt. So thankfully, these are things that people can do, individuals can do.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Shirley.
Dana, let me ask you also, in regards to your book, careering. Do you speak to that in the book?
Well,
in any other chapters?
we do a little bit. We don't get into the college debt honestly so much, but the book is really the book is for all ages. But a lot of the book resonates with baby boomers because many of the stories are baby boomers, and we do have some recent college grads, and we've got some older folks who are older than baby boomers who want to re-career and not retire in the classic sense. They want to find income-producing part-time opportunities in retirement. So, but the bulk of the book is really the experienced worker.
And the book also speaks as it's a spiritual guide as well as a business guide. How does the spiritual guidance tie into the careering piece of the book?
Yeah, so probably 80% of the book is very practical kind of information, how to manage your career in what we call the new world of work, how to job search efficiently, as efficiently as you can. And then the bulk of the book, we have faith-based Catholic Christian orientation in there. We start with Catholic Christian. We have prayers in every chapter. We have spiritual reflections that people can do, which we found in for many people who are faith-based, that when you face uncertainty, say you've been laid off and you don't know where to turn, the faith can kick in and really give you a lot of horsepower in addition to some of the practical steps that you need to take to succeed.
Okay. Let me ask you now: are you marketing your book to faith-based organizations as well?
We absolutely are. The book is on Amazon, so anyone can purchase it. And we are primarily marketing it to faith-based organizations. But we also know that the practical component can be very beneficial in other organizations as well. So, the idea of careering where, how to find and maintain meaningful work, that can apply both in faith-based and non-faith-based situations.
Just in general, how did you come about the concept and the idea of putting this book together, and I want you to kind of answer that as to how does that speak to your mission your mission in life right now?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Terrence. And first of all, it was head and heart. So the head part of me is I did a competitive analysis. I probably read every career book, every job search book that was out there, and so what if I were to write a book about this, what would be different? So I found that there are a lot of job search books out there. There aren't too many career management books. There are a few, and so what we did is we've combined both. All right, career management and job search. And secondly, I run a career job and career group at my church at St. Andrews in Apex, North Carolina. And a lot of the people I work with there, week in and week out, have many of the issues that they struggle with that we've learned some solutions and remedies for, and we captured that in the book. So those are some of the practical reasons for me putting this together. Another reason, honestly, is this idea that teaching people that we can by taking both you have to be I think you have to be both selfish and selfless to be successful. And in other words, I think we've learned that a lot of selfishness only is a very bad recipe for everybody, including yourself in the end. And secondly, being totally selfless in a business sense can hurt you. So being selfish combined with selfless, meaning working together to benefit mutually, you, your family, your loved ones, your colleagues, your neighbors, is a winning formula. And perhaps if we look at like the United States today, maybe other countries, this idea of extreme income inequality. All right, I for one, and am not sitting back and thinking that any particular government official, presidential candidate, etc., is going to fix my problem of underemployment or unemployment. All right, I really don't. That may not. I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime. So this idea of income inequality, it's like, look, take the bull by the horns and find something that you're passionate about that you can make money at and help others along the way, is really a path for people to rise up and to take advantage of an economic pie.
Dana, let me ask you can you share a little bit about your background and your work experience and how that have taken you to the point of where you are now, to where did you take the entrepreneur route, the college business track? How did you move forward in your career from then until now?
Sure. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My dad built a international small business from his garage in New England. And so during high school and college, I worked for him doing different things. He took me all over the country. And I also worked in his factory as a laborer. I then went to undergraduate school and majored in finance, and that led me. Decided immediately to go to graduate school. So I went to get my MBA, also in finance, at Rollins College in Florida. And that led me to and one of the things we talk about in the book is the importance of good networking and contacts. That experience at that grad school in Florida got me connected with some Fortune 500 executives, dads, and all of some of my classmates, which led to a career with a global Fortune 500 firm, manufacturing firm, international manufacturing firm for about 15 years. I was downsized from that company in the year 2000, and got into financial services. My finance degree, some other experiences in the technical aspects of HR with pensions, retirement, and stuff, that led to a kind of a natural fit there. I moved on. I worked for a couple large financial institutions, then acquired my own registered investment firm ran a small mutual fund for a while, and the last 3 years is when I have been running that simultaneous to helping with some diversified startup firms to launch their companies here in the Triangle. So I do have a diverse experience in business. When I was with a large company, I also did some international work, traveled to several countries, worked with thousands of people, hired as an HR person for a large company, hired tons of people, trained tons of people in different ways, and in fact downsized thousands of people near the last part of my tenure in the big company. So I've got a lot of experience that led to me volunteering in the area of career management, and it is a volunteer effort. Our group is all volunteer at St. Andrews. The book proceeds are donated to charity and so forth. So just a collection, Terrence, I think, of things in my background that kind of put me in this place right now.
That is a wealth of that's a wealth of experience that you do have. What would you do? What would you do differently now that you're older, wiser, than what you did, say, 30 years ago? What would you do differently?
That's a really loaded question and a difficult one. First thing I'd do is buy this book called Careering, and I would study where careers are going. I don't know that I'd do one thing differently. And some of the things in my life were by design. Other things were brick walls and obstacles that were put in my way that I either had to find a way to climb over or go around. So I don't know if I'd do anything at all differently, honestly. I love what I'm doing. I enjoy every single day. I love my clients. I love the people I'm working with in the job search area. To work with these people, and sometimes they come in, they've been laid off, and they're worried about their families, how are we going to pay the bills, how are we going to do this, and to work with those people and to give them the tools, both from a practical standpoint, as well as the faith tools that some of these folks really need, and then seeing them over the weeks to start to make progress, start to get hope back, start to actually get job interviews, and then those interviews lead to opportunities is just very fulfilling.
Amnon, did you have a question?
Yeah. I mean, I have a couple of points. I mean, one thing is, I was reading last year, I believe we talked about it on one of the shows, that parents, don't send your kids to Ivy League schools. Plumbers, carpenters, trades like this are going to make more money than a software engineer, because there's so many software engineer and computer science people out there because they were told, yeah. But plumbers today, I mean, we make fun of them that they're making so much money.
And that's a tragedy, isn't it? Because they're providing. We have in the book we have some appendices, and one appendix talks about helping blue trade skilled and service workers, and that's a tragedy that we call them the economic foundation of our country, right? So we have not only a financial bill of thanks to give them, we also have a moral obligation to honor the work that they do. All right, so they serve us, and you're right. They can be great paying jobs with benefits,
absolutely,
and satisfying to the people that are inclined to do that work. Now, there's a statistic that we uncovered in outline in our book that as of this is a couple of years old now, but as of 2013, 40% of college-educated Americans were working in jobs that did not require a college degree.
Yeah.
So I think, as I said at the beginning, if a person is inclined to go to college, all right, they want the study, they want an occupation that they think that they need that college effort for, then go for it.
Absolutely.
All right, go for it. As far as the Ivy Leagues versus the others, here's one thing, and I didn't go to Ivy Leagues, all right, so, but one thing an Ivy League can provide, all right, educational classes and all that, pretty uniform now. Same textbooks, all that. Professors could make a difference here and there, but connections, all right, and networking. So, if you want to work at the White House, you go to Yale, you go to Harvard, it's like a club, all right? Now, it's changed a little bit in recent years, but that's one advantage I can think of as an Ivy League, all right? But let me tell you something else, all right? A few weeks ago, Google announced that they're changing their hiring practices, and you may have heard about that. They were inclined to hire the Ivy League kids with A-plus scores, and that was their primary desire, their primary criteria for hiring these young students out of school. They've thrown that out because they realize that they don't necessarily make the best workers.
Absolutely not. I agree. And we're going 40 years ago and more, 45 years ago. A good friend of mine who's a director and movie producer in Canada told me, I will not hire somebody that came right out of school. I would rather hire somebody that did not go to school and be able to teach him and do it right instead of the person that came out of school who's going to tell me how it's supposed to be done. But to go back to something else you said when you were talking about going to do menial work, you say, don't go do it. I think they should. I think every kid should go out there and do menial work, just like military boot camp, because if you do menial work and you work and it's so hard, anything else after that is, it's so great. I don't have to do that. So I'll better stick with this. And it builds character.
Absolutely,
so all these things. I know you didn't mean it like that. I just wanted to.
Well, I meant if you're, I think I agree with you. Menial work, and a lot of high school, college kids do menial work, and I think that's great. But I mean, if you're not wanting that for a long-term career,
no, not a career,
fit,
yeah.
But I mean, absolutely, there's tremendous benefits around that, and it gets back to the basement thing,
Yep.
right? I don't care if you have a 4-year degree from a great institution and no one's hiring you for whatever reason. You don't think the pay is good enough. You don't think this is good enough. Get out of there and go do something. Learn carpentry skills.
Yep.
Learn plumbing skills. Start a lawn business. I don't care what it is. Although maybe you reinvent the lawn business you had as a high school kid.
Sure.
But get out and do that, and earning that pay at the end of the day, hard work. All right, it will pay off, and you'll have a lot of self pride that will lead you to bigger and better things.
Yep.
Can I jump in one more time? This is Shirley.
Go ahead, Shirley.
I taught journeys to careers for 2 years in middle school, and it was one of the most rewarding jobs that I've had. Now, the problem is a lot of our kids don't realize what plumbers make. They don't realize the job that's available in architecture. They don't realize the jobs that's available in agriculture, where you don't have to necessarily go to a 4-year university. And when those kids were exposed to those type of jobs being out there and how much money they could make for a family of 4 to live on, they were amazed. But the thing is that you have these middle schoolers that they don't know what direction to go, and everybody's telling them, you got to go to college. You have to go to college. That's not necessarily true. But there were few journeys to careers courses being taught when I was in Lafayette, Louisiana. And the thing is that a lot of these kids were not ABC students. They weren't even C students, as a matter of fact. But they were good with their hands, a lot of them. And when I exposed them, when I even told them about porta potties being out on the job site, and there was a millionaire that owned a porta potty company, and exterminators being out there, in the agricultural field, they were amazed. So we've got to start with these kids early to show them exactly what's available and let them know that college is not the end all. So I had to add that in. It was awesome being a Journeys to Careers teacher, and it even enlightened me as to what's available and the respect that these jobs have to command. If you go into a 60-story building, there are many toilets for plumbers. There are pipes everywhere. So we have to, these kids, we have to get them ready, and that's preparedness. We have to get them ready. I'm done.
All right, Cheryl, I appreciate it, but we are out of time, and before we do leave, I do want to give Dana an opportunity to let people know how to get in touch with him through social media. Dana, if you would.
Yeah, here's, I'll just hold up the book here, but here's the book that Terrence has been talking about, Careering. It is on Amazon. So you go to Amazon and you click in Careering. It's the first one that comes up. It's $14.95. People are buying multiple copies. They're giving them to their friends, family, and neighbors, others who can use the book. We also have a website called careeringbook.com. It gives more information about not just the contents of the book, but also some of the things that we've talked about here today about helping people rethink things about occupations, jobs, working together to help each other to advance. So lots of good information on careeringbook.com, and then I encourage people that have interest in the subject to buy multiple copies of the Careering book on Amazon.
All right, we have about a minute left. Amnon, can you give the audience the instruction as to how to, if they didn't see this live, they could go back and see it on demand, how to get in touch?
Absolutely. Anybody that's watching right now, and there are 1,014 people so far. Later on, if you did not catch it all, I mean, there are instructions in the closing, but you can go and you look on the left side and there is on demand. And you can click on it about an hour after the show or any of the shows that we're doing ends. Mm-hmm. It will be there and you can click on it and watch it or just listen to it, download an MP3 and put it on your phone and listen to it as you exercise or whatever. You can just listen to it because none of us here is going to win Mr. Universe, and people are here to learn. They're to listen and to learn from what people like you and people like Dana has to say. So yeah, on demand on the left in the menu.
All right. Well, listen, we're out of time. Dana, I appreciate you coming and joining us today and sharing with us what careering is all about. I look forward to having you back again anytime. So, again, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Terrence. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, and that's every Tuesday. We are Rebels with a Purpose. Just go on AmnonCommunications.com. Every Tuesday evening at 2 o'clock. Nissan Communications, I'm sorry. All right, thanks, and y'all have a great week, and I'll see you again next Tuesday.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, My Life, My Will with Gisela DiCarlo, The Tanya Love Show, Health Then with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Triangle Be Well with Howard Jacobson, Lunch and Learn with Rabbi Yisrael Cutler, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, Current Affairs with Amnon Nissan. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section on nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Atomos.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.